All right, here we are again. We're going to interview Glenn. Glenn, tell us a little bit about who you are and what you do.
No.
Yes.
My name is Glenn Cummins. I'm a sign professional. I think that's the best way of describing me.
Yep.
I've been working in the sign industry for the better part of 20 years. I've had my own sign shop. I've been a consultant for sign shops, a color consultant, and a service technician for Roland, Hewlett Packard, Graph Tech, and a few others. I work with a lot of different color rips like Caldera, Onyx, Flexi. And I work with a lot of different software, mostly the Adobe suite. I do a lot of Adobe training for people, and that's me.
Well, we are talking to entrepreneurs. You're actually our first out-of-town guest, which is super exciting.
Oh. I'm in Davis, California. So
Davis. I've heard so many good things about Davis.
Yeah, it's a cool town. It's a real cool, small little town, and it's weird. I bump into a lot of out-of-towners here. I bumped into a guy who's becoming a horse surgeon, but he's from my hometown, which is Selbridge in Ireland.
What?
So he knew
Well, that's odd.
me. It was so weird. He knew me as a kid. Like, he was 8 or 9, and his older brother, I think, was aware of who I was, and we had this weird connection. We met in a barber shop, and then we ended up going out for pints later on. Anyway, that's Davis, California. It's a weird little nexus of the world.
I've heard it's a little. When I was researching before moving to Asheville, Davis was one of those cities that was like a potential. I was interested in because it's like a biking community and all that.
Mm-hmm.
Well, since we're talking about Davis, how are you guys handling? How's the city handling COVID?
Everyone's doing pretty good. We're very well behaved. That's one thing I realized about Davis once all this went down. Everyone's like, okay, nobody can go to work. We all have to stay in our houses, except for going for walks and bike rides.
Right.
So, I'm looking at my window, and I bet 10 families have walked by the window.
Oh, yeah.
It's crazy. People I've never seen before.
We found
neighbors. We found neighbors yesterday. We were talking to them. Obviously, we were 6 feet apart. We were talking to them for about a half hour. We didn't know they had kids. It was phenomenal. So now we're going to have a social distancing block party when the kids all go to sleep. So
I've seen that. I've seen a lot of people they hang out at the end of their driveways and then shout. I mean, why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
I'm going to be like, hey, my food's better than your food.
And I can't share.
I'm sorry. You got to take my word for it.
Bummer, man.
That's
Check in my homemade ice cream.
Well, so as far as your business, what changes are you experiencing, or what pivots are you making, or how is it making you think about your work differently going through this? One of the things Julieta and I talk about a lot are, building better brands. And so this opportunity for people, yes, there's a lot of hard things that come with this, but there's a lot of opportunity to really grow your business or at least plan to grow your business, after all this.
Yeah. So I'm not sure if I mentioned this at the top. I work for another company called Montroy Signing Graphic Products. So I'm mostly in equipment sales these days. So I'm working with a lot of print shops who are at the forefront. They're working directly with local government, and that they're anything that they need it straight away. They need it yesterday. So it's where my demand is typically quite high. Now it's much higher. People need it faster. Now, having said that, we have seen a decrease in purchases, and we've seen. I would say, if I was to take a guess, most distributors would probably see around about 60+% drop in business.
Wow.
But what I'm noticing is my equipment purchasers, the guys who are buying equipment over the past 5 or 6 weeks, they've been pretty aggressive about their purchases. They want it now. They want it installed as soon as they can have it installed, and they want to get producing as quick as possible.
Right.
So to give you an example, I won't drop any names of the customers. I just sold about $120,000 worth of print equipment to a client just outside of San Francisco. And they're making hand sanitizer. So they need it now because they need to label the bottles.
Yeah.
So
I didn't think of that. That's
you
true.
know,
I need the
yeah.
labels and stuff like that. Yeah.
So the other thing that we're seeing on the supply end of it, so the equipment is great. I mean, right now, this month I've been pretty steady. Next month I foresee a bit of a drop. But the supply end, and something I didn't think about until last week, in the print industry, we have essentially our own version of toilet paper. That's ink.
Right.
You
True.
need ink.
True.
And all of the ink is currently made in China or Singapore or Puerto Rico.
Oh.
So we're expecting to see shortages soon. So I have a lot of my customers, especially the small guys. I'm like, I made those phone calls last week. Like, hey, I just kind of thought of something. So we boosted some ink sales, and hopefully we have clients covered for the next 4 or 5 months. The big guys are always covered. It's the small guys that are ordering ink as they need it. They can generate a problem for themselves right now, because no ink means no money.
That's
So
it. You're stuck.
Wow.
Yeah. I didn't think of that. That's true. Most of the ink does come from those places, and they've got all
Magenta
imports.
ink equals toilet paper. That's the new thing.
We should make a T-shirt. There's a T-shirt.
Yeah, we're in this together, but we can't print that anymore. So just picture it on this blank page.
Just think about it. Just think about it. Or make it with a Sharpie. Yeah,
With that ink, we're in this together. Yeah. So I mean, business for us, it's definitely we're working a lot with people making face shields. So we're supplying a lot of PTE plastics. We're working with a lot of home manufacturers, a lot of 3D printers. They've kind of come out of the woodwork making face masks for nurses and doctors for free, but they're buying the product, so we're giving them great deals and everything we can. But yet it's a crazy time.
It is a crazy time.
The world will be very different.
We talked today with a therapist, and a lot of for a while there will be a lot of PTSD over this and how we handle things, and that's why we're doing these interviews too, because a lot of people have slowed down to think about things, which brings me to my other question that and I know you, so but I'm gonna ask you anyway, so I know the answer.
It's coming.
What are you gonna do differently moving on? Are you gonna stick with the same plan, or are you gonna come out of your comfort zone?
I'm gonna come a little bit out of my comfort zone. I'm gonna join the Blue Man Group. I'm gonna shave the hair. Finally, we've been talking about it for years. So
that's a dream. That's a dream.
Finally happening. We're gonna share it all. Go bald.
That's
be the new guy in the Blue Man Group.
And that's it.
So, Jules and I have been talking about this for a while, and I have a little bit of time to kind of look at everything. So, I'm going to use my experience and my little bit of knowledge that I have, and we're going to start making blogs and writing reviews for equipment for manufacturers and home users, and hopefully putting together some webinars and some classes for some basic instruction to get people started. Excellent. So I'm gonna sit back into where I feel like I might be better suited for our industry, which is more of an instructional role. I think that's where I'm gonna go. I think. I hope maybe tomorrow might be different, but we'll see.
For now,
well, what's step one?
I don't know.
Okay.
That's why he hasn't started yet.
I thought that's what we were doing. I don't know what step one is. I mean, the biggest thing I think is to break everything into categories. What's going to work best for me? How am I going to allow myself to do what I want to do and not lose myself in it? So if I categorize everything that I want to do, then I can choose what's going to be my main focus. I mean, I've got a lot of creative outlets, thankfully, and I don't want to add too many things into that. But at the same time, I mean, it's creative, so it's all fun.
It is, and that's why you should do some of that and have time for it. So some of the conversations that we've been having with Glenn is that he never has time to do all these things because he is a brilliant man and he has great ideas, but he doesn't have the time to do anything with them.
Time has always been my enemy.
Yeah, so
I feel you.
what I kept on pushing him, and mainly this time, is to create that time, because you can.
Yeah.
If you create something that gives you the time to do that by doing some of the things that he currently does, that's
Right.
not time. It's never on his side.
Yeah. It's so things for me personally have kind of on my personal life, things have sped up a lot, and in my professional life, things have sped up a lot. And with those two things speeding up, you kind of have to find out a balance. And Jules has known me for years. We've known each other for far too long. So
way too long.
Way too long. I mean, I'm only 20. Anyway, when things speed up, you really begin to realize how important it is to create these little spaces, these little pockets of time to do things that you enjoy. And then, I've got two young children. I've got a 3.5-year-old and a 6-month-old. In fact, my daughter turned 6 months on Sunday.
Wow.
So with all that, I want to be the best version of me for my kids. And I want to also let my children know that it doesn't always have to be your nose to the grindstone. Work can be something that you truly enjoy. It's not always going to be something you truly enjoy, but it can be something that you do truly enjoy. And I spent a good portion of this week. I took this week off of work. I spent a good portion of this week making planter boxes with my son. So we built these huge planter boxes off of our deck here in the house, and he had a great time. I had to rebuild them 3 or 4 times, but he had a great time.
I was like 3.5. That's impressive that he was already helping build stuff. That's cool.
Oh, since he's been able to hold a screwdriver, he's been helping me. Just even if he's handing me tools, he's helping.
Yeah, I've seen the pictures. It's very funny.
Yeah, he's my little buddy.
Well,
sure.
I think a lot of people are in that boat that you're in of okay, I've been in an industry for a long time. I have a lot of expertise. I have a lot of knowledge, whatever that might be. But it's like, how do you make that transition to capturing, all of that, and what's the best, capturing the videos, doing the lesson, whatever you have to do. So I feel like there's a lot of people in that right there where they're getting ready to, or they want to, and they know what they need to do. But some people that they're never going to go back to work. They're going to start a business because of this, or they're like, you're growing and evolving, and I think it's going to be amazing to see. But it's all, it's just going to be tough for the next few months for people, but well, that's your step one. Start recording some videos, man.
Start recording videos. Yeah, there's a little bit of that. There's I think a lot of it's going to be just writing, like I said, categorizing. Again, the creating time, Jules and we've talked about this so much over the years, especially the past 3 years. Creating time is for people who have to work. Like I have to work to keep the roof over the head, for people who have to work for obvious reasons, creating time is it's so difficult. But what I think I found is, again, it's being that example for my children that, I'm doing this and you can be involved, but I'm doing this to keep me whole, to keep my heart beating. And that hopefully is going to be a good example for my kids. Of course, check in with me in 15 years and let's see how much therapy both kids are in.
You're booked 15 years from now. You're on the podcast.
No, I think that'd be good. That'd be good. Yeah. No, it's about being that example. Be the best version of you, I guess, is probably what I'm trying to say, but in a very roundabout way. Just be the best version. And with creativity, God knows when it's going to happen. I've been, since I was a kid, I've been doing some form of art, be it drawing, be it music, be whatever. And you can never really say that, well, it's going to happen between 8 a.m. and 3 p.m. And they're my professional creative hours. And between 3 and 5, we'll do our billing. And then after that, I'm off. That's not how creativity
It never happens that way.
No.
But from being a musician for as long as I was a musician, what I did really begin to understand is that you can.
Oh no!
Sorry, I'm not sure if that came.
Yeah,
Someone called me. So what I was in the middle of saying, from being a musician for as long as I've been a musician, there's the craft of your art, and working on your craft is incredibly important. So if you're a graphic designer, even if you don't have 10 jobs booked, design, set projects. I used to do it all the time when I had my own sign shop. If I had nothing booked, I would set a project, I would do a project, hone your craft. And in that, creativity happens.
Yeah, that's true.
So, for me, there's a little bit of that happening right now.
You need to do more of that. I've seen him when we would be doing something together, and his eyes kind of get a spark, and he's like, "What if we do this?" And he's completing it, and and other times he will be like driving to, like, now if he's working for somebody else and he has to go, and he's like, "Yeah, I'm just going to do this thing." Not really fully, and like he's like fine because it's a job, but at the same time, it's not the same of what it sparks.
There's a funny thing that happens. So I worked as a service technician for years, servicing wide format and grand format printers. And it's a great industry. I recommend that more people get into it.
It's fun.
It is definitely fun. But with that, when you're getting these phone calls from print shops, there's a little bit of pressure that comes in, and emotionally, I think it's, my therapist will probably call it my biggest problem. I've got too much empathy. So I become very emotionally involved with this printer not working. Like, oh my God, this printer's not working. I've got to fix this guy's life. So I'd be driving out there. I'm in the back of my head, I've got all this stuff that I want to do, but at the front of my head, I've got this other person's problems. This other person's heartbeat is their printer, as far as I'm concerned. So, I've become very detached from it. I used to become very detached from everything and trying to get out and fix these people's printers. Thankfully, that for me has died down, and I've realized that yes, it's a printer, and yes, it's their business, and it will get fixed when I fix it. We will do it in a timely manner, and everyone will be happy. It doesn't have to be done at 4 a.m. anymore.
No, it does not, and it can wait, and nobody's gonna die from it. And that's something that we take when we take everything that we do at heart, even if it's not creative or whatever, it's in our passion. It's like, I have to solve the world's problems today.
Yeah.
So,
well, I mean, you take people who have like that creative personality, and then people who like to solve problems, and you just have a disaster of a human being. I just described Jules, by the way.
Okay.
You just described
I was going to say, I just described Jules. Creative, puzzles, disaster.
Story of my life.
There you go. Done.
Well, right. at least you'll have a plan moving forward to settle.
Well, while I have you two guys, how's Creative Hub?
We're doing this is what we're doing all these things, because the main mission with Creative Hub is to spark people's thoughts, pretty much, in different ways. Creativity, or however it is.
Very cool.
We're very, very grateful that we don't have to pay for rent for a couple months, which is wonderful, because we don't really have expenses of the space. We miss the space. I go and check on it because I miss it. I'm like, I just want to see you and smell you and make sure there's no water.
I'm surprised you're not calling me from there.
No, I just go in to spend the time alone. I just soak it in for a few minutes that I'm there. Water the plants, and then that's it. That's all we can do.
You do the angry flash dance. Yeah, I get you.
That's it. I purchased the printer because the poor printer, it's all by herself there.
Yep, you got to do that. There will be problems if you don't do that.
But we're in the same boat as you. We were pushing our events really hard, because kind of our plan for 2020 was, okay, tons of cool events and get cool people in here and do all kinds of workshops and teach, live people and live, in person. And so we always knew we were going to have online courses and podcasts and all the things, but that was going to be like quarter 3, quarter 4. So now it's kind of flip-flopped. So now we're doing the video, we're interviewing entrepreneurs and people in their industries, and then we're doing a podcast, and we're doing because the events and the event space was going to be a more immediate income, because you rent it, you pay for it, that's it, we don't have to really do anything.
But with this, it's more creating, and we don't know when it's going to actually create that much revenue for us. And it's a lot of work from the startup to get it there.
Right.
So from doing your interviews that we're doing now, and then obviously you've got the website and you've got all your social media and all that, what's your next step?
Our next step, so we created, actually Chandra created it like an e-course. So we started creating courses online on our website. It's full functional with all the things, with a membership, with online courses, with all the goodies. So it can do anything we want it to do. So we've been actually focused the past few weeks on creating content to put in there and start promoting that. And on my side, I'm trying to get artists. So because I have the art gallery and the artsy.net account that they accepted us on, I'm getting other artists to be part of our online gallery only.
That's fantastic.
Because the more artists we have, the more people we reach, and the more chance we get to selling, artwork for them and for us, because we make money off of it. Yeah.
Income through community.
Yeah, so we just been just kind of building things that we weren't going to do right away, but
right, we're going to make some money first and then do this stuff.
Right, but that didn't happen.
No one's making money right now.
Yeah, so we're just
put money on the back burner.
We're just broke and making stuff.
Well, and
see, we're in our 20s again. It's great.
Exactly. Awesome.
I know. I feel like I'm like cramming for finals all the time for some reason right now. It's like it's madness. But no, I mean, and I taught. So before all this started, we were going to do Tuesday lunch and learns in the space, and I teach social media, so had class. Had 4 students sign up, and we had the first class, and it was amazing in the space. And then bam, the next 3 had to be online. So very quickly, I had to get used to Zoom, get used to presenting, video presenting, just like doing the dang thing. And it was awesome. I loved it. So I know for me, I need to do more live classes like that, like live Zoom classes. Not just the e-course that, you film it and you do all the things, but I really like the live aspect. I'm an ex-high school English teacher. So that teaching part of me, that coach part of me, I really like that. So I'm trying to figure out ways to tap into that more, because when you start thinking about how you're like serving your community, so same thing for you, you're going to be like serving this community of people that need to hear from you and need to hear your expertise. Like it's kind of stripped away any of that weirdness I felt before of doing video or just doing, who wants to learn from me? But it's like, yeah, you got knowledge by now. We've been doing this Julieta and I've been doing this for, 10, 15 years. Yeah. So it's like, okay, we've got some experience. And how do you package that experience? And how do you get that out and help people? Because after this, especially, how many half or 50% of business is going to close? I don't know what's going to happen.
Yeah. So what we typically see, or what I've seen, I moved to the States in 2007-ish, somewhere there, roughly. So I was here right as the first economic crash happened, like the 2000.
Oh, you're the one to blame for them. You did it?
Oh,
you did it, right?
Yeah. I'm bad, super bad luck. Ever tell you that?
You did it.
Notice how Ireland, by the way, I left. The economy picked up. Yeah. Anyway, so I came back 2007, 2008. So I was right here at that first had the housing crash,
right?
And it was really scary to move to a place that was in such turmoil. And I started working with a company called Bay Reprographic Supply in the Bay Area, just out past San Francisco. And what I had noticed was there was a lot of closed print shops closing down. But out of those print shops that were closing down or laying people off or halving in size, there were other smaller shops opening it up. And I would hear a lot of people saying, oh, that guy's starting in his garage. And what does he know? He's starting in his garage. Well, all those guys now, I shouldn't say all of them, but a good portion of those guys now own pretty good, solid print shops because they know how to be nimble.
Right.
So I definitely encourage anyone who's working in a print shop, go buy a printer from me. Go buy a printer from me. And put it in your garage. No, don't be afraid. Because yes, shops will be closing down, but that doesn't mean that the work is going away.
Right, and
the work is just going to be different.
Well, and that's kind of what we're talking with Chana, like the the brands that were not the greatest or the greatest at innovating and thinking
Nimble.
of
I
ways
love
to
that word.
survive, to be
Yeah.
nimble through harsh times, those are the ones really that are going to die, which is the ones that died in 2008. It was the same kind of people that were like, oh, you know, they're comfortable in their place and doing the things that they do. They don't even try harder to be better. They just do their thing. And those are the ones normally that don't survive. So that's why our whole thing with Creative Hub Studios is to build better brands because of things like that, to make you a sustainable brand, not just, oh, I'm just going to sell toilet paper as an example. Now they're booming.
You're laughing now, but that's the person now who's making the money. Those little bears.
But all
those
the
little bears.
It's all about the bear. But you know, in general, it's just building better brands to be sustainable throughout time, no matter what, and to have a legacy at the end, you know, when they're passed on, and all the good things that a good brand can do, you know, and inspired.
I mean, one thing I would say, and it's funny because I'm going to say something that might sound like it's contradictory, but one thing I would say is that there can't be one thing for everything.
Right.
Yeah, and I think that's what we should all probably learn from all this. You know, Walmart can't be everything to everybody.
Right.
I'm not a huge fan of Walmart. I've been in Walmart 2 times in my entire life.
Good for you.
One was to go and laugh at it. That was on my first vacation to America. And then the second time was to bring my younger brother to go laugh at
it. That's it.
I went to a Walmart one time in Florida, and they had diapers, and right beside diapers, there was a massive, one of the biggest shops I've ever been, right beside the aisle of diapers, and they had every single diaper there. They had tires. And the tires varied in size. It was tires for cars, and I think tires for monster trucks, or what I thought were monster trucks. Just turns out they're trucks. They had everything there. It was crazy. And then there was an aisle of shotguns. It was weird.
Wow.
Anyway, so yeah, I think the thing is that you can't be everything to everybody. And one thing I've always said to my clients is become an expert in something. Become the go-to guy for the, you know, whatever it is that you guys want to do. For me, for years, I've been the go-to guy for color. If you need to learn how to reproduce color really accurately, come talk to me. I'm the guy. I know it. I've done every single version of it. I've done it with spectrometers. I've done it by doing prints, looking at a screen, tearing screens apart. You mentioned it. That's been my thing, has been color, and it's been a great, very pleasing road for me. So rather than being the everything to everybody, be the expert. Be the best version of whatever expertise you have to offer. Be that person. The company I work for, the big lesson I've learned from the company I currently work for, Montroy, is because they're so stable. They've been around since 1930, whatever. Since, I don't know, maybe when they created electricity for the first time. It's not a huge company. It's not a small company. We have 10 different branches. But they've never stretched themselves so far out of their comfort zone that they've ended up in trouble. Right. The president of the company, Jim Wilson, is a very, very thoughtful man. He really thinks about every single move that we make. If I ever have an idea, I feel like I can talk directly to the president of the company, and I'll say, yeah, that's something we want to do. Or he'll go, Glenn, that's not really in our wheelhouse. We'll stick in our wheelhouse.
Right.
And if you look at the company's history, it's been electrical signage. And then it's been, you know, all the supplies that you could possibly need for electrical signage. Then it's been digital print, vinyl, you name it. So he's very much a signed supplier. And I say he, I mean Montroy. We're very much a signed supplier.
Right.
And when he hires staff, he hires experts. The guy I work for is me 30 years into the industry.
Right.
He's a service technician, digital print expert, software expert, understands the equipment like you wouldn't believe. So when I came for a job interview randomly one day, they said, oh, we need another one of those. Let's hire him. And that's where they got me. And then I just hired a service technician November of last year. And he had no experience being a service technician, but he was an operator. He was a printer, and I knew him as a very good printer. And I said, okay, I want to take him and turn him into a service technician because he has a gift for printing. So let's take that and make sure that he can share that gift. So again, it's that whole be the expert. That's the one thing I've been saying to people for years, and I truly believe it. With Jules, any of the advice I've given Jules over the years has always been, well, you're an artist.
Be an artist.
Why do anything other than fucking art?
She can't. There's no way she could just do one thing though. Oh, I feel like you need to have multiple balls in the air. I don't know.
Well, see, because Jules, this thing that I have with time, Jules has the opposite problem. Jules has too much time.
I make time. That's my art form. I make time.
With your time machine. Jules is a 26-hour day. Yeah, she's a 26-hour day.
I think you're right. I think that's the trick.
Because I balance myself out. That's the only reason why I do it, and you need it.
Bullshit.
You need it. You
time
need
machine.
To make the time machine. Even if I had it, I will not confirm nor deny since it's just my own proprietary process. So
I think about 3 years ago, maybe a little bit longer, maybe about 5 years ago, Jules had figured out a pace that works for Jules. And that's another lesson that everyone needs to figure out. What is the pace that works for you? Some people like to move at that New Yorker high pace. Everything is really fast. And some people can move fast but seem like they're moving slow. That would be very much an example of Jules. She's always moving fast but seems very relaxed. Mm-hmm. And I think it's because she found her rhythm.
Yeah.
I think
great advice.
It's a pretty big deal. Find your rhythm.
Well, because you don't get burned out that way, and you just go with the flow, and you know that you can accomplish so much, and you don't stress over it because you know you can accomplish that much in that day, and then you put it down, and so forth, so on. So it kind of gives you that flow of work, whatever that is for you. But anyways, with that said, we're gonna close it out because we talked way too much with you, Glenn. Way too much, which is normal because I'm used to spending 2 hours.
Well, and when it's quality conversation, you just got to keep it rolling.
Goes. But we thank
you. I don't know about how much quality it was. Let's be honest. We
talked
about the Blue Man Group for 2 hours.
It was perfect because it's another point of view. So we thank you, and thank you for coming on our little show. We can call it. I don't even know what we call it. Yeah. Say goodbye, Glenn.